Fighting game tournaments have been around since the very beginning of the genre, and the idea of competitive gameplay and playing to win at the highest level absolutely go hand in hand with the whole idea of them. Even though many fighting games have a ton of lore, world building, lovable characters, killer music, and so much more to enjoy from them, ultimately it boils down to playing against other people with someone winning and someone losing. And even if we're talking Mortal Kombat tournaments specifically, for the most part, anything that works in the game is allowed in competitive play. As long as you aren't literally cheating, it's pretty much fair game. And especially in the Netherrealm era, we see more of a focus on overall character balance. And even though inevitably some characters will end up being stronger than others in the overall meta, to have something be banned in tournaments requires something in particular to be a real problem. Whether it's characters being way too strong, unintended glitches breaking too much, or sometimes more, we are ketchup and mustard, and we are going to talk about 5 times that characters were straight up banned in competitive Mortal Kombat tournaments. We start this video off with a surprisingly modern example of banned Mortal Kombat characters, and that's a few specific variations in Mortal Kombat X. In the intro, we mentioned that often a character might be banned for being way too strong in terms of balance, and sometimes it's due to unintended glitches and bugs, and these variations both belong to the latter. Starting off is the most commonly known ban amongst MKX fans, Spectral Ermac, and a specific version of the game where, for some reason, if Spectral was to use an airborne special move from this variation-specific float, Ermac would generate an entire chunk of EX meter instantly. This was clearly an oversight and completely unintentional, as it was fixed quickly after discovery, but not before being banned from the ESL Pro League in the meantime. The second MKX example was Mournful Katana for an infinite combo that it could do in the corner. To put it simply, Mournful was a variation of Katana that gained a straightforward glaive toss instead of her traditional fan toss. The issue is that this move had enough advantage on hit to guarantee an attack follow-up, which would guarantee a glaive toss, which would guarantee another attack, which would guarantee another glaive toss, rinse repeat until you had yourself an infinite. This was also banned from the Pro League until it was eventually fixed. In hindsight, it was super important for these kind of issues to be addressed as quickly as they were, especially when it came to the organizers' decisions to ban them. The Pro League was the first time that the NRS community had anything like this competitively, and it involved weekly online competitions. So if these variations were to sneak their way in and nab some qualifying points, it could have had a disastrous effect on the rest of the season's competition. We take a trip back to the 3D era of Mortal Kombat for this entry, as the banned characters we're talking about now are the super bosses from MK Armageddon. You might be wondering, what on earth does he mean by super bosses? And I'll tell you, super bosses was the term used to describe the kind of boss character in Armageddon that pretty much broke the rules of the game on a fundamental level. They're basically immune to throws, and hitting them with many types of combos just didn't work properly, as they can't be popped up normally, and even under circumstances where they can, it still doesn't work the way it should. And given how important both of these mechanics are in high-level MKA, the community banned them altogether to avoid the headache. This isn't as big of a deal as you might think though, as in a game like Armageddon and the roster of this size, the only super bosses in the game were Moloch, Onaga, and Blaze. Which perhaps was a blessing in disguise for Moloch in particular, but that's a point for another day. To those in the position of being aware of Mortal Kombat 9 and its infamously strong top tiers, it might come as little to no surprise that this game did indeed have a character completely banned competitively. Cabal and his winning matchups versus every character in the game? Nope. Cyrax for the ability to obtain true 100% combos and winning rounds in a single touch? Definitely not. No! In fact, it was actually the series' one and currently only console-exclusive guest character, Kratos from the God of War series. Funnily enough, balance actually had nothing at all to do with why Kratos was banned competitively. It was simply the fact that he was console exclusive to the PS3 version, and given the fact that the tournament standard for MK9 was the Xbox 360, you can see why this might cause issues from a logistical standpoint. Kratos was actually quite a strong and interesting character in MK9, so it was a shame to never see him pop up in tournaments, but given the PS3 edition's inconsistent performance and the fact that most major organizers were running their tournaments on 360s, it was just never on the cards for the good old God of War. This is the most up in the air entry on this list because technically we wouldn't have seen many tournaments for the custom characters anyway, but given how big a part of the game Creator Fighter was in MKA, I thought it was worth mentioning as it was all in its entirety not permitted or seen as legit in high level MK Armageddon. To go back a step, MK Armageddon featured the ability to create custom characters for the first time in a Mortal Kombat game. You could customize all sorts of visuals and make some really cool stuff, but the important thing is that you could edit every attack that your character had, all the way from basic attacks to combo strings, from special moves to even their weapon stance. The problem is that this is a method of play that, to be honest, didn't have enough time to be thoroughly tested before making it into the final game. There is simply no way that everything to do with customs was going to launch completely balanced. And what's left is the ability to make some next level broken and unbalanced creations, as heavily detailed in our recent custom characters in Armageddon video. Whether it's 100% combos, infinites, guaranteed throws into guaranteed wins on certain stages, way too much unbreakable damage, and the list really does go on, this is why we would never see custom creations allowed in high-level MK Armageddon. Noob Saibot and MK Trilogy. Name a more infamous character in this game. Seriously, Noob Saibot was undeniably, definitively, and categorically broken in Mortal Kombat Trilogy, in pretty much every way imaginable. Those of you that saw Ketchup's competitive history of Noob Saibot will know the specifics as to why, but for those of you seeing it here for the first time, allow me to simplify it. Noob Saibot had it all. Infinite combos, special moves that left the opponent unable to attack or block, the ability to end combos in said special to guarantee it constantly, high damage combo strings, you name it. And practically every character in the game had no answer to it on their own, and was simply a matter of time until they got hit by something and the round was instantly lost for it. Many of us remember beating the MK Trilogy arcade ladders effortlessly as kids with Noob Saibot, and even against real players it was still pretty much as effective. MK Trilogy Noob Saibot is arguably one of, if not the most broken character to ever exist in a Mortal Kombat game. This character was absolutely banned in tournaments, and still is to this day when original Trilogy is played. Trilogy still sees tournaments even in the more modern era thanks to emulation and the like, and you'll still be hard pressed to find consistent competitive environments that don't ban this infamous fan favorite character. And there you have it! 5 instances of characters being banned in Mortal Kombat tournaments. There are certainly more examples to choose from, but who knows, maybe we can come back to this in a future video and dish out the details on a few more. As always, please let us know what you thought of this video, and if you want to see more, why not subscribe and hit the notification bell to be kept up to speed on more stuff like it that we'll make in the future.